是阿婉，今天是2025年的11月14日，一起来看一下一篇新闻分析文章，就是指出来说，中国多年前已走上了对美经济的一个脱钩之路。特朗普总统就是近期试图通过提高关税来，削减美国对中国出口的依赖，但他遇到了一个关键的障碍，就是中国早在20年前就系统性的推进经济自立与对美脱钩。那这一长期战略不仅降低了中国对美国的依赖，也让中国在关键产业中建立起能卡住美国经济的供应链控制力。那自力更生的政策其实也并非就是说，并非始于习近平，而是始于就是胡锦涛时期就已经形成的一个国家战略，目标是用国产制造替代进口，以减少对外国技术与零部件的一个依赖。那这一战略成本是高昂的，效率不佳，但逐渐削弱了西方在经济谈判中的筹码。那习近平上台之后，这种方针是更加的公开化与政治化。在2025年10月的一个中共四中全会上，自立自强再次被列为下一个5年规划的重点。习近平强调要加快高水平科技的一个自立自强。政府顾问田培炎指出，完整产业体系能增强中国供应链的一个韧性与经济安全。中国的一个卡脖子优势对美反制。那我们已经提到非常多遍的这个稀土资源是中国最强有力的筹码。那中国是几乎完全控制全球稀土金属与稀土磁体的一个供应。那在特朗普提高关税后，中国是威胁实施严格稀土出口管制，迫使美方妥协。那双方最终协议使中国的关税水平与东南亚国家相当，甚至低于印度和巴西等美方友国。那稀土威胁还促使美方就是暂停扩大中美军工企业黑名单的一个计划。所以说，中国已经成为全球的抗生素、药物原料、电气设备、低端芯片等产品的一个主要生产者。当美国试图反制时，只能威胁少数仍被中国需要的出口产品，如飞机的一些零部件等等。所以说2001年的话，中国加入 WTO， 在电信、汽车、能源设备等领域是严重的依赖进口。那经过这20年的一个发展，中国在世界就是500强的主要产品工业中有220多种是拿到了全球产量的第一。国有银行体系以低息贷款支持电动车和光伏企业，也使中国成为全球最大的电动车与太阳能电板的出口国。所以说就是中国在2000年代初就开启了自主创新的战略，以本土研发替代进口技术。那2015年，中国是政策名称是中国制造2025，建立高端制造与技术自主体系。那从2023年起，我们的一个政策就是以新质生产力为主了，聚焦 AI、半导体等高附加值的产业。所以说，而且除此之外，中国也奉行了一些保护性政策。自2008年以来的话，中国对进口燃油车还有 SUV 征收高额关税和费用，价格翻倍以上。那这也使得说国内的一个消费者直接转向电动与 混合动力的车型，两者如今在市场上的占据中国市场是1半以上。那纵观说全球竞争，北京是结合国家干预与制造业的规模，逐步取代西方在多数领域的主导地位。那目前仅剩的少数领域仍有没有领先的是商用飞机，还有最先进的半导体。那外交委员会专家就是布拉德赛特就是指出来说，除去那些美国设计公司设计但不在美国制造的尖端芯片外，习近平已经将美国进口产品完全挤出中国的一个供应链。所以说，中国仍落后于 AI 与军工级芯片的制造，但通过采购与走私英伟达的芯片作为弥补。所以说，美方这边是有一些误判的，就是说，自特朗普的第1届任期起，美方官员普遍是低估了中国使用供应链武器的意愿，认为那会损害外资信心。然而，中国似乎就是并不担心这些后果，反而继续在国产替代的一个策略。那世中全会闭幕公报就是也明确指出来说，我们必须巩固拓展优势，破除瓶颈制约，补强短板弱势。这也标志说，中国的一个经济路线将继续坚定推进自主可控与供应链的一个内循环。希望你会喜欢我的频道。那接下去的话就是英语部分。如果你还没有订阅，请订阅我吧，谢谢。China started separating its economy from the West years ago. President Trump has used tariffs to try to reduce American reliance on Chinese exports and prevent China's factory overcapacity from sweeping the U.S. economy. But his effort has hit an obstacle. Beijing was already well on its way to winning its economy from the United States. For 2 decades, China has systematically pursued economic self-reliance. China has been able to establish choke points to pressure the U.S. economy, while making it harder for Washington to block China. Self-reliance has been a cornerstone of Chinese policy making, not just under Xi Jinping, the country's top leader since 2012, but also under his predecessor, Hu Jintao. Their program of replacing imported manufactured goods with domestic production has been costly and often inefficient, but it has left the West with dwelling leverage it can deploy during disputes. China's leaders have become increasingly public about emphasizing the self-reliance drive. It took a prominent place at an annual gathering of the Communist Party Central Committee last month, when the country's top officials laid out a sketch of China's next 5 years plan. We must first and foremost intensify efforts towards achieving greater self-reliance and strength in science and technology, Mr. Xi said in a speech. This year, China has widely one of its most powerful choke points, its almost complete control over the world's supply of rare earth metals and rare earth magnets. Faced with restriction on China's supply of rare earths, Mr. Trump last week accepted a compromise with Mr. Xi. They are agreement that this year new U.S. tariffs for China, similar to those for countries in Southeast Asia, and lower than the tariff for countries like India and Brazil, with which the United States has traditionally maintained closer relations. China strives to put extremely tight controls on its rare earth exports, also helped persuade the Trump administration to suspend a policy it adopted in September to expand the nuclear military-related Chinese companies that Americans are not allowed to do business with. China has gained other choke points through its policy on manufacturing self-reliance. It is the world's dominant producer of the ingredients needed to make antibiotics and other pharmaceuticals. It is also the main producer of a lot of electrical equipment, and computer chips, and much more. The United States have been left with few options when it needs to fight back. When Washington wanted to pressure Beijing to back down on rare earth export controls, the Trump administration threatened to restrain some of the last categories of crucial American exports that China still needs, like aircraft parts. Chinese officials are now calling for their countries to become even more reliant on a comprehensive industry system benefits the enhanced resilience of supply chains. Tian Pengyuan, one of Mr. Xi's senior policy advisor, wrote in a journal over the weekend. He added that a very broad industry base could create a bulwark of economic security. When China joined the World Trade Organization at the end of 2001, it depended on imports for a wide range of goods, the cars, telecommunications, geos, power generation equipment, and other manufactured goods that China made then were inferior to imports, prompting many Chinese companies and consumers to prefer imports. Since then, China has made enormous strides in the quality and quantity of these and many other goods. Among 500 major industry products, my country ranks first globally in the production of over 220. Jin Zhonglong, a prominent Chinese engineer, said last year when he was Minister of Industry and Information Technology. Last month, Central Committee Gathering of Plenum ordered that China would, starting last year, double down on its emphasis on advanced manufacturing. The plenum document ordered government and business to work faster to boost China's strength in manufacturing, product quality, aerospace, transportation, and cyberspace. Beijing has combined the vast scale of its manufacturing operations with considerable state direction. Only a handful of business sectors are left in which American and European industries still lead the world, notably commercial aircraft and a few of the most advanced semiconductors. President Xi has been quite good at finding ways to engineering American imports out of China's supply chain over time, apart from the most advanced semiconductors designed but not made by U.S. firms, said Brett Satter, a China specialist at the Council on Foreign Relations. Despite more than a decade of heavy public investment, China lags in making the fastest semiconductors needed for artificial intelligence and the latest military technologies. But Chinese companies have proved adept at buying and smuggling NVIDIA microchips, China's policy to replace imports with domestic products have included the indigenous innovation campaign adaptation after China entered the WTO. Made in China 2025. Starting in 2015, the effort caught high-quality productive force in the past 2 years. The state-controlled banking system has led heavily at low interest rates to manufacturers of electrical cars and solar panels, and China has become the largest exporter of these goods. For some products, China has achieved self-reliance with protectionist trade policies. Since 2008, China has used tariffs and fees that more than double the sticker price of imported cars and sport utility vehicles with large gasoline engines. That has not only discouraged imports but meant that Chinese consumers never become accustomed to powerful and bulky vehicles. This is one reason they have been quick to switch over the electrical cars and hybrid gasoline electrical cars, which together now make up more than half the Chinese market. Since earlier in Mr. Trump's first term, American officials tended to dismiss concerns that China might use the choke points it was developing. To do so would diminish China's credibility as a destination for foreign investment, they argued, and would prompt nationals to shift their purchase elsewhere. That could yet happen, but China's leaders, as so last month, seem determined to persuade even greater self-reliance. The Freedom closing statement said we must consolidate and expand our advantages, break through bottlenecks and constraints, and strengthen our shortcomings and weaknesses. Thanks for your listening. Hoping your life fully with happiness and joy. Please don't forget to subscribe me. Thank you. Have a good day.